So before us is one question. If love is the highest value, if God is love, if we should love, if we should take this attitude toward the whole humanity, how is it that we become unloving and suffer from this forgetfulness? Well, now another way of talking about forgetfulness is to say that it is the opposite of knowing. So knowing, when we don't know, then of course we forget the fundamental principles. And not knowing, another word that we use really is avidya. That is, vidya means knowledge, knowing. Avidya means ignorance. So we are all suffering from ignorance. Why should this be? Well, it's because we were born humans. Not only humans, but we were born as part of the biological nature, which is there, and because we are under the same kinds of delusions as every other part of nature, and broadly speaking, we call this Maya. Therefore, Maya and ignorance is the same thing. Now, if you suspect that there is an extra cosmic God floating in the clouds somewhere, then you will wonder why God made us like that. And so instead of wondering about that, we have to take a different approach. But initially, this dualistic approach, loving God, is useful to us. To think of God as outside us is useful, just as it is useful to have relational love in a social context or family context when the person is separate from us. But if you're living as a married couple, then the idea worldwide, regardless of culture, is that you seem to become one thing, one person. We spent a long time, maybe 1.5 years, studying the story of Rama. And one thing we would have picked up is the close relationship that Rama has with Sita and Sita has with Rama. That they are one and the same, two sides of the same coin. So the ideal would be to see Rama in everyone if you are feminine, and to see Sita in everyone if you are masculine. That could work, but it requires some understanding of the fundamental principle about it, and then it requires rallying around the emotions so that we are persuaded emotionally of the fact, because love is purely emotional. Now, if love is an energy, which we call emotion, then hate and anger will be the same fundamental energy, just directed in a different way. And if you recall from the story of the Ramayana that Ravana finds his salvation in hating Rama. In hating Rama, being obsessed by him, this obsession occupies his psyche. And so if we hate God for some reason or other, because God caused, in our view anyway, some calamity, or some person died, maybe at a young age. Why did God do this? Might be a question. Well, we have a wrong idea about God in the first place. So, but the point is, by obsessing like that, naturally, what are we doing? We're thinking of God. So there is every hope for atheists who are determined to make debate combat with theists, because what are they occupied with? For a person who doesn't believe in God, they are completely obsessed by the subject. Now, this forgetfulness is really because our attention is steered toward the external world, and we don't bother to stop and become philosophical about it. That is, we don't bother to examine it correctly. If we were to examine it correctly, we would see that it is fleeting, that it changes. From moment to moment, it's never the same. And the reason for that is because there's something like a river called time. It's not actually like that, but we are deluded into thinking that this is the case. We see a series of events going from point A to point B to point C and D, and we are able to recall it happened at this moment, that moment, it happened in the future, and this happened in the past. There's this interesting mechanism that nature offers us called time, without which life becomes extremely difficult. In fact, life becomes impossible without a sense of time. And if we really want to be efficient, we have to take on this perception of time and understand time as an opportunity. We should use it well. Now, we can use it against ourselves or for ourselves. And when we say against or for, what we're talking about really is that we are ignoring the fact of a unity of existence. The overall attitude, therefore, is called viveka, discernment, where we look at the world or try to look at it in a proper way and relate to it emotionally. That is, relate to what is behind it, through it, as it, and beyond it. And because it is abstract, we have to make it personal. This is the value of dualism. The value of dualism is to take one form that we like with various qualities and to feel the emotional response that we call love. The reason why is because that being is a loving entity and is the epitome of love. That's why we say God is love. Why would we say such a thing? The lovability comes in the free flow of generosity toward us, which we often bypass. All of us are breathing, I would hope. If you're not, please let me know in the text. We'll probably have to call the undertaker. The evidence of all life is a kind of pulsation in all creatures. What is life is a mystery that has to be explored, but we know when it's there and we know when it's not. And the thing that is the principle, the causation principle, keeping this body, whatever the body is, whether it's a body of an ant, or whether it is a pulsing body of an amoeba or a bacteria, every kind of pulsation is caused by an invested principle. Now, according to the Upanishads, the Prajna Upanishad, for example, starts with this question, and it comes to, well, there's prana. Of all the senses can all depart, but if prana departs, in other words, if life energy or life force departs, then the whole thing is scuttled. So this energy can be registered in a physical way, but that would only be the temporary causation. Fundamental causation would be what is producing the energy in the first place. What is it that is not energy and yet is producing it by some kind of miracle? And we say this is not something that is created, it is something that is manifested. In other words, that original cause becomes that, as it were, takes the form of that. So that all the forms in the universe are forms of the one entity. That's the one principle that all Upanishads will tell us. Even being more specific, 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes everywhere, 1,000 hands, 1,000 meaning infinite. Infinite, with infinite possibilities. So we have to change our way of looking at things and practice that. Why do we become forgetful of it? Because the whole of nature is geared toward us being restrained in our view. But it also provides us the opportunity of revelation. We can also see the glory everywhere. We see the glory of the sun shining, that which lights all beings, that which lights all things that are lit. We have the evidence of that, its glory displayed, using all the natural forces. So something can be constrained or revealing. Let's give an example. An electrical current is flowing. You can put a light bulb there and connect everything with a switch. You can switch it on, you can switch it off. Now you see, when it's off, you can't say that the light bulb is restricting the electrical current. The electrical current is there, ready, standing to attention, waiting to be used. We can manifest it by switching it on, making the connection. We can detach from it by switching it off. It has nothing to do with the electrical current. It only has to do with connection. So what is remembrance? What is forgetfulness? Well, are we tuned into it or not? Did we make the connection or did we switch it off, either consciously or unconsciously? For most people, unconsciously. But it does not restrict the current. It looks like that. The full potential of the electrical current everywhere. Nikola Tesla was so adamant that this electricity is omnipresent everywhere, that we should be able to tap it in for free. We don't have to submit to a national electrical power company. Everybody can do it. You can generate it from the earth itself. In fact, surely the earth is an electromagnetic mechanism with an iron core in the center, molten iron layer, giving us a magnetic field that gives us the northern lights and protects us from dangerous cosmic rays. If it wasn't for this iron core, then the cosmic rays would come, and we have therefore a magnetic North Pole and a magnetic South Pole. We know where north is, and every compass will know where it is. Every magnet will know what is the north and what is the south of it. Magnetic north, magnetic south. So the electrical current is staying there, and you cannot restrict it, but it looks as if it is a restrictor. Technically, in philosophy, we call this upadhi. That is a limiting adjunct, something that is adjacent to it. The light bulb is adjacent to the current and is therefore taking the absolute universality, the omnipotence of the electrical current in the electromagnetic field and channeling it in a restricted way through a light bulb. Finished. But we can also think of it the other way, as a manifesting thing. We can think of it as a manifesting adjunct as well. That it is manifesting the glory of the light. So when we look at all the objects around us, we can view them as manifesting things rather than limiting things. So when we look at the sun, we can see a different view. It is manifesting glory. When we look at a blade of glass, it is manifesting glory. When we look at anything which is colored, manifesting glory. So of all the fundamental elements that we have, we can systematically view them as manifesting glory. And when we go into meditation and go through step by step and understand the individual subtleties of nature, we can again register each one as a manifesting combination. And where is it manifesting from? It's manifesting from a cosmic mind. We mentioned this yesterday. That is why understanding the categories as presented by the Sankhyas and beyond, we can get the idea that nature has this system of categories, and like a step ladder, so that we can step up and down as we want. What is meditation? Meditation is going up and down nature's ladder. When we reach the top, we reach the unity, and then our horizon is broad. When we reach the bottom, then we have seen the grossest of these manifestations. So what are these? What is this arrangement? Well, when we cut off our understanding of the universe at our sense level, the 5 photographs that we have of the universe, the sense organs, and the mind, 6th. then we will naturally operate the same way as any other being who doesn't understand anything deeper or more profound. You can call that instinct, repeated habit, whether it's from an amoeba or elsewhere. There are some people who say, oh, we are just humans. We are simply glorified primates. We all come from monkeys. But why do you want to make a limitation there? Why not go all the way back to single-cell organisms? Why don't you go even further back? Why don't you go to universal chemistry? Why don't you go further? The glorious atomic structure. Why don't you go further than that? If you go further than that, there must be a life and some kind of energy that is energizing it. Whether we call it electrical energy, whether we call it gravitational energy, kinetic energy, all of these are available. One energy being there, and this is divine energy. And then where is that coming from? It's coming from a creative principle that manifests thought. So we can see that the whole universe can be traced back to God. God who can be adored and worshipped. And that is what we call technically cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha or Brahma, but it is actually the personal God. And when we shift our attention in a dualistic way there, with adoration, wonder, and thankfulness, then this is a way of tuning in. And tuning in means that this forgetfulness issue is gone. We take our attention as a probe and tune it into something higher, something nobler, by many, many different mechanisms. Ritualistic worship, prayer, profound prayer, deep, deep, profound meditation, working as if the next second is your last second, working for the glory of that divine being. And then we're experiencing and being accepting of the love which is flowing to us. So love flowing to us free of charge, like the electrical current continuously flowing, free of charge. We just have to tune into it with our little adapter. Our adapter happens to be a very sophisticated adapter. We have a strong body that works mechanically in a perfect way unless we interfere with it unnecessarily or inherit something unnecessarily. Or additionally, we have a very, very complex neural network. The brain firing off with electrolytic conditions, and more than that, with the capacity to analyze, the capacity to decide, and within that framework, the capacity to respond in a feeling way. We can take all of that and we can direct it in a deeper way, a more profound way, a way which is much more rewarding. But then we have to analyze, well, what is God? What is God is that cosmic mind, but further than that, it comes from a potential area where nothing moves, and more than that, the supreme principle is sitting there, the absolute. And when we reach that, we're arriving at a level of freedom, and freedom is our goal. So this is why we forget, and this is how we remember. Now let's give some more examples. God is love. Now fortunately, most religions will have a list of prayers which exhibit the glory of God. For example, the Quran, or as every surah, will be introduced by the merciful. Various qualities will be there, and many names for that, so that we get the understanding in an impersonal way of a being that is not just impersonal to the extent of abstract. Some being that we are grateful for, thankful for, their grace flowing. We can do it from a careful observation of the human body, the complexity of the mind, because behind the brain we have this enormous capacity for thinking, unlimited, called cosmic mind. And the energy we're using is also unlimited. If you study this Raja Yoga, you see Swami Vivekananda telling us that our potential is unlimited in terms of accessing energy. Pranayama, what is that? When we control prana, energy, in one place, we actually have controlled it, the whole universe, to the furthest supernova. Imagine. So we become omnipotent, having gained control of that potency, and we gain control by knowing it. Now, just to remind you, what is this love? So there are two kinds of love. We can categorize them like that. One is selfless love and one is selfish love. And most human love is selfish, requiring a reward. Please love me. I will love you. I know I'm expecting a flow, a reciprocal flow to me. And the opposite may be true. Once you no longer love me, then I have nothing to do with you. I'll cut you off. So this is the human love. But when we look at this glory manifest and all the glories that are mentioned by all religions, let us take, for example, the Bhagavad Gita, how the 7th chapter, 9th chapter, during the retreat, one of the things we'll do is repetition of the divine glories in Gregorian chant style. And this is assembled from 3-4 chapters, so that if we are stuck for identifying where is this love, then we'll find it in every single corner we can think of, with the very highest things. Of all the fish, I'm the shark. You may be frightened by that, but look at the shark. It is the king of the seas. There is no other animal that would touch the sophisticated machine of a shark. Its sensitivity of its skin, its capacity to go through the water, its capacity to do the top predator. So we take the most superlative things we can find, and there we'll see the glory. Any exhibition of great, great energy, there we'll find this divine manifestation there. If you go to a concert, and even if it is a rock concert, and you see talented musicians with the capacity to influence people so that they are immediately swaying to the music, there we find divine Shakti. When you find a powerful speaker, regardless of the morality, and that is able to almost hypnotize people, to hold them in a captivated audience, there we find the divine Shakti. We're not saying whether the Shakti is challenged into moral or ethical channels or otherwise. Where we find all kinds of power, there we find the divine Shakti. And we have access to this with our knowledge to say, let us channel it in a useful direction. Use our Shakti for the good of everyone, not just humans, but all beings. A prayer, may all beings be happy, may all beings be peaceful, may all beings be blissful, and so on. Channel it with a generosity of spirit. So we need to monitor what our reactions are at any moment in time, not just when our love or lack of love is challenged. In moments like that, we have to stand back a little bit and make a categorization. Is the love that we have, because it's always present, is it channeled as selfishness, love of myself, or channeled toward the greater good, toward humanity, selflessly? Swami Vivekananda famously made this comment. He said, even if an atheist is in possession of sincere truth and is absolutely selfless, they will arrive at the same point of understanding as the greatest lover of God. So we have to have this selflessness. Now, the purpose of the Enneagram, of course, is when we look at it, we'll see every personality position is designed for self-survival. And there are even, in the advanced course, the different categories of 3 types of survival strategies. We call this, a strategy whereby we rely on our success by tying into group effort or individual effort or intimate, that is, taking one or two people only. But it is all to do with the gut. It's all to do with survival. Well, when we try to get out of that, we are overthrowing two principal genetic directives. The directive to continue and propagate the species and make it successful like that, on the one hand, or to stream negative entropy on ourselves. That is, entropy is a measure of scrambledness. And when we reduce the complexity and make things systematic, rhythmic, that also is a factor. Now that comes out as lust and greed, the two genetic directives. So Sri Ramakrishna puts it in a funny way. Women in gold is how it's translated, and for women it's men in gold. He's highlighting in a very, very simple way these two great genetic directives. And we should transcend these. And we learn to transcend these by revaluing what is in front of us. Let us take, for example, the necessity to eat. Everybody has this necessity. Every creature has this necessity. And every creature knows instinctively how to do it. Even at the bacterial level, even at the virus level, they know how to hook on to a host and take advantage of the other's generosity. Unconscious generosity, no doubt. And so getting a free ride like that, they're able to adapt and change the host and the environment and the behavior and cause havoc, called COVID. So every entity knows how to take advantage of what we call the environment, nature, and stream that negative entropy on themselves in order to survive. But of course, as we know, they won't survive for long. Even the human, maybe we may survive, let's say, 100 years. But beyond that, it's very unlikely. There are people who live more than that, no doubt. So, wishing to live 100 years, the Isha Upanishad tells us, we should take all our actions and, in summary, make them selfless. We should offer them to a personal God. Why? Because all the energy that is used does not belong to us. We have no entitlement to any of the fruits of our activities. We have no right to take the vines, the wine of the vineyard when the vineyard doesn't belong to us. We're simply the caretaker. With that attitude, we go through with a sense of thankfulness that what is being supplied to us is free of charge. And in this way, we give back whatever we have. So we have every reason to be thankful. A sense of adoration, wonder, and thankfulness is something we should cultivate. Then what is this thing called love? If we are not to be selfish. Well, just to remind you, Swami Vivekananda's definition, and it is there threefold, a triune aspect of it. Love has no fear in it. There's no necessity to be fearful. Will that love go away, for example? Or will I go to heaven or hell? Love has no reward, no heaven. We're not doing it to get something. That is selfish if we do it. And no rival. In other words, our love is steady, dedicated. Even in human relations, if you adopt these three principles, then the divorce courts will all be empty. Because there'll be no jealousy, no rival, no jealousy. There'll be no reward, no conditional love. And there'll be no fear, there'll only be joy. So we have to cultivate this when we talk about love of God. And we cannot have love of God and hatred of our fellow person. We cannot have love of God and have a critical attitude toward others. In the same Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there's a beautiful, beautiful code of conduct that is laid out. It's not called that, but how should our attitude be toward others? Well, we have to celebrate and be happy for those who are happy. We have to congratulate them. Those who are successful, please be happy and joyful for them. But for those who are sad, who are pained, who are suffering, those who are unlucky, unsuccessful, maybe who made errors, then we have compassion for those people. What about those who are virtuous? Those who are virtuous, we celebrate. What about those who are full of vice, those people who in common language we call sinners? Well, we have indifference toward them. We have indifference toward their behavior, that is. In other words, no room for criticism. See the Divine Mother, Sharada Devi, she says, if you want to be at peace yourself, don't find fault with any others. Now, what does it mean? Not just verbally, don't even think it. Don't think it, don't engage in it. No criticism. Take all criticism away. And then, having had this kind of way of behaving, don't you think you'll have peace of mind as guaranteed? Yes, you will. So we have to understand the fundamental principle. Whatever we do, whatever attitude we have, whatever we think, will come to us also, because there's only oneness of existence. If you're critical, you'll be criticized. If you hate, you'll be hated. If you're loved, you'll be loved. If you're jealous, then, if you're jealous of others, then people will be jealous of you and create havoc in your life. So there's very sound grounds for behaving in a certain way. So let us not be forgetful of this. Let us engender. Now, one thing, of course, is to see, what about love of yourself? There's another question. And all the way positive thinkers are saying, love yourself. You learn to love yourself. But of course they mean the psychophysical self. Yes, we all have talents and rewards, and if we are to be honest, we will see that we have more positives than negatives. There are some people with very, very low self-image. The kind of deservability issue is sometimes how it's described. And you ask them, please write something down which you find is good about yourself. And people struggle with it. So when they struggle with it, they'll means that they really cannot find anything worthwhile in themselves. And such a negative attitude ultimately leads to, even in some cases, suicide. There's no point in living. I'm worthless. And if religion bangs that in as well, you are worthless, you're a worm, you're a sinner, that's what you will be. So what does Vedanta say? If you really want to love yourself and create the self of strength and self-esteem, then understand your fundamental nature is immortal. It is full. There's nothing more to be added to it, nothing to be taken away from it. It is full and free and perfect. All these qualities of strength and goodness and wisdom and harmony and so on and so forth, all of that is you already. And when you repeat these words, you're manifesting these qualities from within. You already have them. You're not repeating them to gain something. You're there to express what is already there. And when you repeat strong, every nerve, every fiber will be strong. When you say wise, the light of illumination will be wise. When you are joyful, the eyes will shine with joy, the face will smile. By repeating these words and concepts are the same thing, then you are expressing everything you have within you, and it's sustaining that, it's making you remember. Now, constant remembrance is what we have to engender, because this constant forgetfulness is the opposite of it. And we call that reality. Those who don't know any better call this forgetfulness the real world. You say, that's all very good, all the spirituality, but in the real world, what should we do? As if this world is real. And when we use our discernment, we'll discover, no, it's not. It's a kind of dreamy world that looks real, that looks solid. But when you go and discover it, even in science, you'll find it's ephemeral, it's uncertain, it's all running on probability, statistical probability, that's all. That's the only thing that's there. When you see it, it dissolves. It's gone. When you look at it closely, it's gone. In meditation, it's gone. When you open the eyes, it's back again. Well, same thing with the dream. When you close your eyes, the dream is there. When you open it, it's gone. And when you go deeper, deeper into a realm of peace that we call deep sleep, then the whole thing is gone, but comes back again. That is why it's full of tamas, darkness. It looks like the opposite to enlightenment. All the same as enlightenment, but these are clearly opposites. So this constant remembrance means constant practice. Practicing the presence of Brother Lawrence. Now, if we come then, because it's Father's Day, I really have to go through this Pater Nostra, as it is in Latin, the Our Father. Let's get a real understanding of what it means. Because when we practice by rote prayer, it's not very meaningful. It's better than nothing. But really, and it depends what is your motive for repeating it, whether you're doing it as a promise, for example. If you give me this amount, let's say an enormous amount of money, I can get out of debt, my life will be peaceful, and I promise, then that I will say the Our Father, and I'll say in Catholic tradition, the Hail Mary, and glory be to the Father, and all of that. I'll do all of that. I'll do it for 40, 45 minutes every day and peep out of the window. My expected gift is it arriving? Did the DHL come to deliver it? So how else should you do it? We should do it by putting in feeling. And feeling means meaning. So we could say, Our Father, Mother. That means that in the dualistic system, what we call God belongs to us. It is our mother, nobody else's mother, from our personal prayer point of view. It is intimate. It is our Father, it could also be our mother. Our parent, who art in heaven, with this we should point into the chest, who art here within, in heaven. So we see that Kathopanishad tells us about 11-gated city, and inside there will be the ruling monarch with all these gateways and avenues like any other big city, the final departure, the final royal entrance and exit at the top of the head, and the others, the apertures, 7 apertures in the head, and then other apertures everywhere, 11 of them. Bhagavad Gita registers 9 of them. So it's a city, an 11-gated city. And where is the kingdom of heaven? It's the ruling place, the internal mind, where the Lord of the universe sits enthroned. Because of its presence, everything shines, everything moves, everything operates. The city moves efficiently because of its presence. Take away its presence, and every other officer in the city misbehaves. Put the presence back, they all coordinate nicely. So our Father who art within, here, in heaven, within, King of heaven is within you. Your name is very holy, hallowed be your very name. Of course, the universal name is Om. Thy kingdom come, that means eventually we realize this. May it come now, may this realization come. Thy will be done, may my will be tuned in to your cosmic will, so that things operate in harmony. As your instrument, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day, this moment, our daily bread. That means our physical sustenance, our mental sustenance, looking after our needs. We don't have to pray. They're already, we are told, the birds of the air are looked after. They don't have to. Their food is provided. The lilies of the field are clothed in more glory than Solomon. And so, give us this day our daily bread. That means our daily opportunities for us to realize your glory. And forgive us our trespasses, yes, all our weaknesses, no doubt. But as we forgive others, we have to have the generosity of doing that. And forgiveness means forgetfulness also. We forget. Leave it in the past. What happened in the past is in the past. So, and lead us not into temptation is a difficult one. Pope Francis mentioned the difficulty in saying this. But in Vedanta we see, please, do not deceive us by your maya, by this ignorance which you're putting forward, that is obscuring the reality of there you are. We have to work a little hard to reveal this, to remove the curtain, remove the veil all the time. So, deceive us not by your maya, but deliver us from all this maya, all this vices, from this ignorance, from this weakness. So, this is a more meditative way, a meaningful way of understanding this. I mention it because it's Father's Day. And so we can say our Father, we can say our Mother, but it's intimate. So by repeating these kinds of things is called spiritual practice, starting off with revaluing the world, registering it to God. Secondly, allowing a sense of thankfulness and adoration to come. Allowing a reciprocal love to flow because all of what is provided is from a lovable entity that doesn't demand rent, doesn't demand any reciprocal return, doesn't judge, doesn't criticize. That belongs to a very coarse realm of theology. Gives us all of this second by second, unlimited opportunities to pass our university examinations, not only in this life but beyond. What a wonderful, loving entity that does it. Digesting food for every creature, pumping the heart for every creature, pumping the breathing mechanism for every creature. Even fish have the gills to enable the breathing in water. Everything's so beautifully, divinely arranged. I was seeing that there was some film of taken from one of these what do you call it? Flying things. Anyway, call them a flying thing for the time being. And looking at the ocean and seeing for the first time how so-called killer whales are able to writhe and dance and play in the water for the sheer pleasure of it. It's very evident because there's no evolutionary benefit from it. It is purely for joy. So that's how we have to also do our life, conduct our life, just out of pure joy. We learn to do that. So learn to love not only other people, learn to love the whole of nature, including people. It's the same as loving God. And when we love God, we will love all things as well. Just powerful course. Well, okay. So we leave it there.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good. And
Thank you, Swamiji.